All right, what's going on, everybody? Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what's going on right here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do, and subscribe if this is what you're looking for. Let's go ahead and get us a little bit of music out here. Now, when Kevin Samuels was still alive, rest in peace, he caught on to an artist by the name of Catnip. So let me go ahead and bring in some of her music here. Fair use, fair use. And then we're going to mellow it out into the background and get on with the show.
Boy, you had me from the start. By the
Fair
way you
use,
stared,
fair
the
use.
way you wrote up on me, yeah. Man, I felt your energy. Wasn't used to being loved and treated differently, yeah. But something went wrong. The signals got crossed, and now we're on completely different pages. Let's go where we were, where no one gets hurt. Baby, keep it right there. Don't you stress the flow. You're trying to pick the pace up. We should take it slow. Baby, keep your focus. Don't you
Fair use, fair use.
If you love me, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you. Baby,
All right, let's go ahead and put this in the background and get on with things. Again, shout out to Kevin Samuels for making this artist known. All right, people. So before we get started, let's go ahead and kick off a few announcements here. All right. Oh, by the way, again, I appreciate anyone who can show up for the show tonight. If you don't show up, we know there's always the replay game. And as I always have to mention as well, Don, I messed up, girl. I thought I could get here sooner, but I did not. But you know, replay is always there. But if you happen to poke your head in before work, always appreciate it. All right, so for the first announcement, I'm looking at adding a call-in feature here, okay? So in the next couple of shows coming up, I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can try having someone or anyone call in, and we'll have a conversation with that person if they're not looking at coming on to the show directly itself. Excuse me. So what I want to do is try and see if we can increase our base here, because it's kind of small right now. The majority of you who do show up locally come in because of the fact that we're coming over from Fatty's show at times. So I'm going to see if I can grow my TikTok side as well, because Fatty finally convinced me, as I told you guys a few shows ago, to go ahead and start using that as well. So we want to see what we can do to broaden things out, all right? But again, I want to have that call-in number up and ready, hopefully in the next few weeks, and then we'll see what comes with that. Also, I'm going to put together a calendar, so that way I can start taking in folks who want to call in, and we'll do consults as well. So the beautiful thing about this, as I mentioned before, is that unlike a majority of the folks that are in the spaces out here, I actually do have a background in the social sciences, primarily psychology, bachelor's and master's, and currently working on my doctorates. But still, I'm not going to say that I am Dr. Phil, anybody like that, but I will have the capabilities to have conversations with you, discussions, and we'll just see where things go. Right? I'm not saying I'm going to solve anybody's problems, but if you just want to have a conversation and look at options, we can do that as well. All right, another shout out. Tomorrow's Image Barbershop, located on Denby and Warwick in Newport News, Virginia. So, Devin, if you're checking this out, man, I'll be in to see you soon. So when this broadcast is over and I hook you up with it, which will probably be tonight, you'll probably be seeing me sometime tomorrow. So it's been a minute, so I need to go ahead and make sure I get faded out, all right? And last for the announcements, hey, Black Eyed Peas restaurant located behind Lynnhaven Mall in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Talking about fine Southern cooking. Smothered pork chops, mac and cheese, collard greens, carrot souffle. Trust me, it's worth it, all right, folks? That's the spot where you want to go Monday, or should I say Tuesday through Sunday. Now, another special reason why I'm mentioning Black Eyed Peas is that I'm in conversation with the owner right now, Miss Cynthia, and we're looking to see if we can do maybe once a month a broadcast of a value conversation, Gen X spoken word, from her location. All right, we got a full bar, full menu, So it'll be worth the interaction, folks. Plenty of space where we can have a conversation, but at the same time, have food, have drinks, and have each other around for company. And should we do this throughout the summer months, if this works out well, we can look at getting a larger venue. But for right now, again, Black Eyed Peas Restaurant, located behind the Lynn Haven Mall in Virginia Beach, Virginia. All right, so getting into this, what do we want to talk about tonight? It's scrolling right across the bottom of the screen here. We're going to talk about game versus wisdom. So there's game and then there's wisdom. So what's the difference? The difference is this: a fool will tell you he can teach you wisdom of the game, whereas a knowledgeable man will tell you wisdom requires no games. It just requires attention. Literally, you just have to pay attention to what's going on in front of you. But I'm not going to divulge too much right off the bat. So let's look at it from this perspective. So the question right now is, who are you getting your information from? If you are looking to make waves out here, right? Not everybody is going to be able to go. When I say be able to go, it means that not everybody will find somebody. And if you do find somebody, it may not be the person you're looking for. But the question is, what is it that you're after? What are you being told that's going to be benefiting you based on what you're looking for in an interaction? Now, notice I didn't say relationship, because not everyone out here is looking for a relationship. They're just looking for the interaction, which means that the thrill of the chase is what they enjoy. Now, that's the same thing for men and women. We sometimes seem to forget that as men, we're not the only ones that like chase. All right, let me take it back. We love the chase, right? Once we get our first taste of it, all we can do is just run. We love the chase, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the fair sex doesn't either. Sometimes she gets shamed into having to say, oh no, I'm not really like that. I don't really enjoy that, when yes, she actually does. But it's the rules that have been placed on dating that have restricted a lot of actions for women. So when we saw, what was that I mentioned? Boomerang back in 92. Some of you who may not remember that, if you don't, check it out. Eddie Murphy, Robin Givens, Halle Berry, a classic movie from the 90s, right? But this is when we got introduced into the concept of, hey, there are female dogs out here also that run the block as well. They have their own rosters. So we can't be surprised if she has her own idea what she wants to do. Understand, there was a point in time where I endorsed the idea that you either make statistics, you take statistics, or you become a statistic. It's just that simple, or at least I used to say it was. But the stats game sometimes has a way of changing, and when you look at it, it doesn't have the same meaning. You cross 35, 45, even 50. But regardless of that, just because there's some things that you yourself are not out here doing, it doesn't mean the job is not getting done. I refer again to the scrolling on the screen right now, game versus wisdom. So the last thing here I'll say is, are you here for the hookup, or are you looking to go the distance? Distance meaning next relationship. But in doing so, what philosophy do you subscribe to? Or better yet, even ideology. What ideology do you subscribe to? Are you more about the pickup culture, or are you about trying to have the relationship? So let's take a look at these two ideologies. We have the pickup artist and the relationship advisor. So what is the difference between a pickup artist and a relationship advisor? So a pickup artist, think of a comedian who tells a lot of one-liners. There's rapid fire. There's always something in here. He's looking for a way in to catch you, to get you entertained. And once I've got you entertained, then I'm just going to keep coming at it and just keep throwing something at your way until I know that I've got information from you that I can use. And then I'll keep you giggling, right? Well, with a pickup artist, think of the same tactics, throwing something out. I'm going to keep working my way in. But ideally, pickup artist is about dominance. It's the thing of, hey girl, I don't exist in your world, you exist in mine. You're just a squirrel looking for a nut. I'm the guy out here with the nut farm. This dude more or less is going to work on controlling the situation. And that's the stilo. Now, I can't say that I myself did not utilize these tactics the same when I was younger. I used them on people, and sometimes I had them used on me, meaning that there's a female who also had her game about it. But the thing here with the pickup artist is that it's a thing of dominance. I want to make sure that any and everything I do is always going to point to me being the guy who's in charge. Because in my mind, she wants to be dominated. She wants a dominant male around here. But what are some of the things that you won't hear from a pickup artist? You're not going to hear certain words such as care, consideration, concern, communication, compromise, or even balance. That's not what, as a pickup artist, since I'm in my stilo right now, as a pickup artist, that's not what I'm about. I'm in here trying to do a James Brown, didn't quit it. Now, my tactics may come from acting as if I have something in common with you, or I will learn something about you that I can use as information later to help my case in trying to be manipulative, or I will more or less act as if you and I are the same, to whereas, oh, don't worry about not wanting to express yourself sexually. Don't be repressed like that. Me, myself, I like to just open myself up to experiences that are out here. So therefore, I can let her guard down. Now, these are all the type of games that you're going to find yourself dealing with if you are a pickup artist, or if you are, and then this is for you girls, if you are a girl trying to be careful about who you talk with. Now, generally speaking, if you're listening to a guy who's talking this type of game to you, ladies, you just need to stand on your square. You can't always be willing to be too open with someone when you're sharing information. Because they always say, hey, there's such thing as overshare. You don't have to tell everything at the first meeting. And guys, this goes for you also. Because just as there are male pickup artists, there are female pickup artists also. As I said before, that movie Boomerang, 1992, women have rosters also. Matter of fact, you can hear them talking about, oh, girl, get yourself a roster. Yeah, it doesn't really fit with the ideology if you come up thinking that women are these tender, frail type of creatures. No, they are not. Back in the 90s, here we go again. I'm having a flashback, right? Excuse me. But back in the 90s, man, no one was ready for that female to walk up on you and have her own lineup just like you had yours. You didn't see this coming. But when it did happen to you, if you let yourself get a little bit too far involved and you forgot where your mark was on the ground, which was, there's only so much I'm going to show her so I can keep her coming back, you sometimes slip over and you don't think that she can be this way, but hey, she's just as devious as you can be. All right, so that pickup culture, it exists around here. So don't be surprised when you see more and more of this manly type of female talking about, I don't need a man, but I would like to have one. So she's running something as well as you may be running something, right? You head up. Now, what is the end result of someone who is working that pickup type of lifestyle? Whereas, all right, girl, I'm on my square, 10 toes down. Again, you exist in my world. I don't exist in yours. Get on my program. She can't get on my program. She can't get with me, whatever. Let her go, man. She needs to roll with what you got going on. Now, that's some of the dumbest shit that I think I can probably think of right now. But again, at my age now, being over 50, what I'm saying was the vibe 20, 30 years ago when I was 25, 27, 29 out here running. That was how it worked. At least that's the concept. Keep telling yourselves how it works. But the thing again is that the thought, she wants a guy who's dominant, a man who stands on business. He's going to represent. But here's the irony in that. Ladies, how upset did you get when you got a guy like that who's telling you what he expects, what he wants done, looking for your input? Now you're pissed off because you think he's trying to control you. You're trying to tell me what to do. You ain't my daddy. You ain't. So now you got this back and forth, whereas it's put out here by you. Oh, I want a man who's dominant. I want a man who represents. But then you get a guy like that. Now there's nothing but problems. There's all this headbutting going on because he wants to run the show, you want to run the show. You can't have two captains on the boat. It doesn't work that way unless both of these captains know how to work together in cohesion. But that's generally not the case when we're talking about the pickup artist game or even establishing a relationship, right? So that's something that you still have to keep in mind here. It's not that two people can't work in the relationship, have something to say. You just have to be able to balance and know when someone's going to take the lead and the other's going to slide back to the side. But again, the irony here is that with this pickup guy talking about standing on off, 10 toes down, dominant male, is that it sometimes doesn't work out too well with the female who does not want that nonsense, right? So that is, again, the pickup artist approach. Now, if we look at it from the relationship advisor, how does that work? So the relationship advisor is going to find something about who he is talking to. He's going to find something out about her, then make that a point to whereas when he has a conversation with her, it's going to be a conversation that she can join in. It's not going to be this thing of, yeah, girl, it's my world. Welcome to it. No, I don't walk with you. You walk with me. Yeah, that is some dumb shit. I can't believe I used to talk like that. Still, there are guys out there who are teaching this male approach, this dominant male men's mindset, whatever they want to call it out here. You've got guys who are having weekly shows where you've got dudes tuning in by the hundreds to get that type of advice. Yeah, man. So what I say, don't give her the attention. Look away. She looks in your direction. Look away at times. And then maybe look back, make conversation with her, get that eye contact, and then go up, get up from the table and say, yo, I'll be right back. Disappear for a minute. Let her sit there and wait on you. So what do you do if when you get up, she picks up her phone and she calls somebody else? See, all this nonsense, this play, that's all it is. It's play. But that's something that you're going to have to go through to a certain degree. We all can say at one point in time, before we learn to speak up for ourselves, before we learn to check someone who is getting comfortable talking to us a certain way, we got played out. We put all our trust in somebody who took it, followed it up, threw it over their shoulder, and then walked away. And then you left there finding that piece of paper trying to straighten it back out. Think of that as being your feelings, your little low feelings, right? Think about that as you just crumbling that wad of paper, straightening it back out, catching your breath before you go out and try it again. So there's going to be moments where we have failure, where there's going to be a crash and burn moment before we start picking ourselves back up. And after you go through it enough, you start realizing, I don't need to tell everybody everything. I don't need to always be there. I don't need to always say that I'm going to be the person you can talk to because if you need someone, I'll always be here. No, you start throwing all that off to the side because all you do is make yourself available and give your best to someone who's going to do nothing but provide you their worst. So there has to be some kind of temperance when it gets down to it. But anyways, I'm saying about a relationship advisor. This guy is not trying to exert dominance, not trying to make this all about him, because the idea is to inject an element of reciprocity in here or a mutual exchange, meaning that you both get something out of the interaction. So I like to say that it's promoting reciprocity, which is similar to contingency, if and then. If you do this, then I will do this. Think of it being like a puff, puff, give situation. Now, recall where I said before, the main things that you will not hear come from a pickup artist. Compromise, care, consideration, concern, communication, balance. You will hear that from a person who's got a relationship advisor approach. This person is going to look for a way that something can be built off of this interaction. It may not have to be done all in the first hour or so, or the first 2 hours, or however the date is long. It's a process. Whereas from the pickup artist point of view, I'm not trying to spend all my time with you. I'm trying to get in and get gone. Because if I've got a roster that I'm trying to work from, I've already picked out who I think may be someone that I can work with and get to quicker. Now, if I can't, okay, I'll just slide you to the back and then I'll go down to the next person on the list. This is generally how it would work. Again, this is me, in my stilo about how I used to work it out. when I was a younger man running the streets. There was always somebody that was going to be around after I got my board set up. I knew where you worked. I knew how long you were going to be at the job. I knew, let's say, if you had kids or whatnot, I know when to drop by, if the ex was going to be there, or if the kids were going to be there, or better yet, I find out when you're going to drop the kids off with the ex or the grandparents, whoever, extended family, and then I'll show up. All right, it was a whole type of setup that was going on here. That was a lot of work because you're talking about spending money on how many of the girls you're out here messing around with. You're talking about the cost of gas. Then you're talking about also the going out part. Okay, you're putting all types of money out here trying to maintain this whole deal of, okay, it's my world, walk with me. I don't walk with you. But again, the relationship advisor guy, he's going to provide a level of intelligence from an emotional aspect. Now, I don't want you to think of emotional intelligence as being this throwaway word that's gotten so cliché, if that's a way to put it right about now. It's just so passe. No, you have to be able to regulate your own emotions, be able to look at what somebody else is saying to you, interpreting their emotions, and then being able to provide some type of feedback or answer back that falls in line with how they feel. Now, someone would say that in and of itself is manipulation, but it's not. It's actually just taking the time to understand who you're talking to and finding out what's important to them. Because if you meet that person there halfway, I can promise you that you're going to have a successful relationship, or if anything, a successful interaction. Because again, with a pickup artist and also with a relational advisor type of approach, they both look the same in the beginning. So I heard this comment the other day, and I forget about it, but still, it's relative to what we're talking about here. Excuse me. So if you see 10 lions walking down the street, which lion is the one that is going to be the one that does not bite you and lets you pet it? You can't tell because they all look the same. So that's the same thing as if you're watching a group of dudes, ladies, walking your direction. Which one is going to be the guy who really wants to establish a conversation with you, to really get an understanding about you, versus the ones who are there just for the moment, to get in where he fits in and to get gone? It's the same thing for a guy. When we go out and we see a table full of girls out here giggling and laughing, which one is going to be the one that we can have a conversation with, versus the ones who are just out there to talk trash to you? I don't need a man, Bob, and just blow the whole thing up, and you just end up leaving. So nobody gets what they want, but the girls have a good laugh. But out of all the girls at the table, who's to say there wasn't that one girl who was interested? But because of who she's with, maybe she might not have it in and of herself to say that, you know what, I can't deal with y'all. I'm going to go talk to this dude. That's the approach, right? And I would walk in, rush the table. I'm going to have a conversation and see who picks up on it. I had a supervisor, shout out to you, big bro, Tony Lucas, who used to tell me back before he got married, his game was, I'll go at the table. I'll start from the left side and work my way over to the right. Turn me down as many times as you want, but one of y'all is going to say yes. So by the time he got to the girl who was interested, she'd ask, why did you end up talking to all my friends and now you want to talk to me? He said, well, had I known you wanted to talk to me, I would start it on your side of the table. It's systematic, all right? You got to find some way that you're going to work your way through. So going forward, that again, as I said before, the words that you will hear in the relationship advisor guys conversation, again, care, consideration, concern, communication, compromise, balance. That's what you're going to be looking for. That's what's going to make the difference here. Now, we'll look at the end results here between the two. So we've just had a quick laydown about what guy does what one will say versus what one won't say. So the end result here, if we're talking about the pickup artist, is that you're going to always find yourself caught up in situationships and entanglements. That's how that lifestyle works, because you're never going to look at trying to settle down just one. You're trying to settle down long enough to get what you're after, and get to the next one. So there's no longevity in here. However, sometimes people slip up. And when I say people slip up, that means that they end up expressing more emotion than they expected to, because again, this was never about having a relationship. This was about having a moment. As I said before here, or if I haven't, I'll say it right now. Are you here to have a moment, or are you here to make a lifetime? That's going to depend upon where you want to go with it. So I graduated from the pickup game and moved over to the relationship side, but that was only after having a flash one night. I can't recall when it was, but I do know for a fact I was about maybe 20, I think I was 22. I had gone an entire week with a different girl every night. And when I had done that, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm tired. Let me just go ahead and lay back here. And so I took maybe about a week or so, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, didn't go out. Or let me take that back. I did go out, but I wasn't trying to hook up for the most part, because I already knew when I walked into whatever club that I was in, hey, I know what my success rate was. I knew that I didn't have to prove anything to myself. I knew that I could find the girl. But here's the thing. I was just finding the girl, not finding a relationship. But at 22, who's looking for that? No, I'm not. Again, as I said before, I had multiple girls in locations around the area that I was living that I could bounce in and check on. If she was busy because she had to do something with the kids, or she was with her extended family, I'll go find the other girl. If she's busy, I'll go to the other one. And if both of them or 3 or 4 of them are busy, I go out and I find a new one. That was the lifestyle of a young cat back in the 90s for the most part. But when you get to a certain point and you start thinking, what if I want to do something permanent? That's where it starts to dawn on you. And I'd be with just one person. So when that thought comes into your head, something happens. You start losing your edge. And again, the edge only exists if I'm out here just, again, working to pick up, hey girl, get on my page type of mind frame. But when you get off of that and you start trying to develop relationship skills, that's when you make yourself the most vulnerable to other folks just like you. Different topic. So again, with the pickup artists, the end result that you get here is situationships and entanglements. But what comes of dealing with a guy who's more or less of a relationship advisor? The end result is you have a potential relationship with the potential for ongoing opportunities. It depends on what you're after. As I said before, you have to understand what it is that you want to get out of this. Are you just here for the chase? Because if you're here for the chase, then hey, go check it out with the pickup guys. Now, I didn't mention this, but let's go ahead and take a break real fast. My channel here, even though I'm looking at it for the older folks over 50 like myself, it doesn't necessarily mean that what I'm sharing with you isn't good for anyone below the age of 40 either. But understand, this is not a pickup site, right? I'm not here to teach you guys the game on how to get women or ladies, how to finesse fellas or anything along those lines. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I am for my guys, ride or die for my guys, but I'm not against the ladies, all right? Because I am pro-relationship. And being pro-relationship means that I'm an equal opportunity foolery identifier. I'm not gonna be over here saying fellas, let's dunk on the girls. I'm not gonna say again, girls, go ahead, finesse the guys, get them for the wallets. No. All right, this is going to be even kill as best as I can. So again, this is not a pickup site. If you're looking for that, there are other sites you can go to. The idea here is longevity, and that's what I want to try and share with you and help you be able to build this foundation so you can get there. I've made enough mistakes, whereas now I can go back and kind of see where I fucked up. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it right now. Do I regret being divorced? I do at times, because there are things I could have done better, but at that age where I wasn't about to give up ground. And that's one of the things that you don't want to do, is be in a position to whereas you would rather be right than be able to have a conversation. Hey, Superficial D Roots. Nice to meet you. I don't think I've ever seen you here. Thanks for showing up. All right, so going past that, let's look at this here. We'll talk about what gets left out of the conversation the majority of the time. So, what does get left out of the conversation if we're talking relationships about what he does versus what she does? Choice. Everybody's got a choice inside of the relationship. But if you don't take the time to voice what you're looking for at the very beginning, you cannot be upset about what you do not get. What's a common thing that I normally say? Well, my replay game knows this. So for anyone new here, I guess superficial deep roots, that would be you. Again, if I missed you somewhere along the way in other chats, my apologies. But the saying that I put out here is that value has no worth unless it's agreed upon. And I say that to both the guys and the gals. Reason being, you get what you qualify for. So as a guy, I can't sit inside of my mini mansion or inside of my room, wherever I am, look in the mirror and say, "That's right, yeah, about a 9, maybe a 10." I can't sit there and do that because unless someone else validates that, I'm having a conversation with myself, just me in the mirror. The mirror has no concern, does not give a damn about your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations. It's only going to show you what's standing in front of you. So if you want to give yourself some type of assessment without anybody else validating that, don't be upset if you don't hear what you're looking for. Again, swapping it around, it's that same conversation when you have a girl saying, "Well, I'm a 10. Okay, what makes you a 10? Well, because of my attitude and I believe in God and just the way I carry myself." Now she's calling herself a 10 here, but what she's not doing is actually seeing everything else that detracts from that. Could be her attitude, could be clothing, could be her weight. Same thing with a guy. But here's the difference. A guy's weight, oh yeah, he can't be that. He can't be this type of overweight type of dude. But if you turn around and put that on her, there's shaming, there's a whole deal. We know how that works here, but the idea is not to look in that so much per se. We know that it exists. The thing here again is value. Value has no worth unless it's agreed upon because we get what we qualify for. So therefore, if we're going to talk about qualification, the first thing we need to do, we start talking about that relationship is what do you, the individual, before we talk about cars, before we talk about education, before we talk about money, what do you, this, all right, all this, what is it that you're bringing before anything else jumps off? Now, I've got a previous video that I put out here that's called the 5-step sensory dating approach. And in that approach, remember, for those of you who are watching the replay right now, and for you folks who are new, let me go ahead and just break it down real fast. The 5-step sensory dating approach simply deals with the 5 human, I'm going to call it emotions or senses, but we'll say the 5 human senses in this order: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So when we're talking about sight, the first thing is that when you look at somebody else and you think, okay, that's somebody that I want to talk to, the question that you have to ask yourself is if the person that you're looking at is thinking the exact same thing when they look at you as well. Because we all want to have somebody that we wake up next to and say, "God damn, did all right." Everybody wants that. But before we can sit down and say, that is what I'm after, are you going to look yourself up and down again in the mirror and say, am I what somebody else is after? Sight is the first thing that needs to be taken care of, because no matter what's said about ladies, his character, his demeanor, well, what's his heart like? None of that means a damn thing unless he looks like somebody that you want to spend your time with. And that's the same thing with guys as well. Second thing, sound. Once we are comfortable with what we're looking at or who we're looking at, the next thing is what type of conversation are we hearing? All right, is this person about current affairs, knows what's happening in the world around them? Or are they talking all this nonsense about LeBron versus Kobe versus Jordan, or, some Real Housewives bullshit? Maybe this Kendrick versus Drake or whatnot, old school versus new. What are they talking about? All right. What is going on with this person and the conversation that they're making with you? Is it valuable? Is it worth your time? Is it something that you can see yourself sitting around having a conversation with over and over again? If you get past this part, you're still doing good. So we've gotten past sight. We've gotten past sound, which is pretty much what you're hearing. Now, what are we going to do? Well, let's talk about sight. We got sound. Let's talk about taste. So when we talk about taste, we're talking about being able to go out. Now, let's call time on that for a minute. Now, I'm going to back it up for about maybe 20, 30 years ago, because when you found someone that you were looking at that looked nice, it wasn't hard on the eyes, you guys have a conversation, you make it work, whereas now you get to the point where you want to actually go out. You went out and you had to decide, hey, are we going to go Dutch or who's paying for what? That used to be a thing back in the day. Pardon me here. I sweat, so you see me do this from time to time. All right, so again, we used to go out. So if I'm out at the club and I met you maybe on a Wednesday night, because in England back in the mid 90s, you could club from Sunday to Sunday, damn near. So let's say I'm out in Norwich and I'm at a club called Rick's or whatnot, and I meet you down there at the club. We exchange numbers. I'm an hour away, but you know what? If you're bad enough, I'll drive back. So I met you on that Wednesday night. Shit, I'll drive back down on Thursday night. Now we're going to go to Highs, one of the other clubs down there. And when we do this, I may meet you at the club. If I don't pay for your way in, we'll go Dutch. You pay your way, I pay my way. You kick it with your friends. I'll come back every now and then. I may get you a glass of wine. You may hook me up with a lager or something like that. And then when the evening's over, we'll head back and find one of the local chip shops, as we call it, sit down and have a little bit of something to eat. Now, at that point in time, I may just go ahead and pay for everything, what you're eating, what you're drinking, whatnot. Hey, we're good. We're going to have that conversation. But it always started with something, whereas maybe I might meet you somewhere. We'll go out to have something to eat. Or if everything's really popping, I'll have you come over to my spot. I'll cook something. So again, you don't see too much of that nowadays. I hear most people talk about, I don't feel safe doing that just yet. Let's just go ahead and talk on the phone. Let's just face chat a little bit longer. So you end up spending almost 3 weeks, maybe a month, going back and forth on WhatsApp or Messenger or something like this, before you even have a chance to physically meet again, if you did meet somebody out in the wild, so to speak. But back in my day, if I met you on a Friday, I'm back in your face on a Saturday, and then maybe Saturday evening we're out. And if I work my game right, I'm sliding in. But more often than not, we'll say that's not the case. We'll just say that we get phone numbers, we exchange, and then it just goes back and forth with, hey, you call me, I'll call you, we'll meet up, and that's the process. But that was then. Nowadays, no, it's not so much the same. But what you still have to recognize, nonetheless, is that choices is something that we all have to make. So getting back on topic, let's talk about this choice thing. Men chase, but women choose. However, if you are her type, she can be persuaded. Now think about that for a second. Now, for those of you who've just joined in, for the replay gang who've been there the entire time, I'll say this again. I'm going to present everything from the perspective of a male, because that's what I am. Male, chase women. So work with me on this, all right? If you have any questions or anyone shows up, by all means, drop it inside of the chat. I'll respond. So as I said before, men chase, but women choose. However, if you are her type, she can be persuaded. All right, so let's look at this. Now, her choice is to accept his pursuit or not. Again, this is her choice. She doesn't have to say, you can talk to me. She can always say, no, I don't want to talk to you. But what happens if she does? Now, eventually, let's say that a relationship does come out of this, or at least interactions come from it. If she likes him, he may be able to slide through. If she thinks he's cute, he may be able to slide through. But if she thinks he's cute and she likes him, he lets him slide through, and then he slides out and doesn't call her anymore. All men are shit as a result. Men ain't worth a damn at this point. So the question that I have to ask now is, who's wrong here? Or better yet, let's take it out of here because we don't want to blame here. Let's just get to the root of the matter. It was her choice to allow him access. Now, in saying so, I'm not saying she did anything wrong. By no means, no. If this was her decision and her choice, then he can't do anything that she does not allow him to do. That doesn't mean still, nonetheless, this guy might be an asshole of some sort. But again, he can't do anything unless he is allowed. That's the point I'm making about choice that gets left out of the conversation. So I'm not talking this nonsense. Oh, well, men force women. No, we're not going to do that. All right. We're not going to do that mess right about now. We're just going to have a conversation that we have two consenting adults. And in this relationship or this interaction, she decided that she'd seen enough from this guy that convinced her, okay, I'll let him in. Then he dogs her and he bones out. He's gone. So again, she made a choice. He's an asshole. That's the fact of the matter, right? Now let's look at it from the perspective from the guy. Now he has a choice to pursue her or not. Now, as a man, I can't make a woman give me what she has. I can't trick her for what she has. Because a woman who knows what she has to offer, knows what she has of herself that other guys want, she's going to watch what she does. She's going to know her value. Not that she's sitting in the mirror giving herself an assessment, but she's been out in the world. She's been out and about. She knows who she attracts. Some women just happen to have options like that, whereas others do not. But be that as it may, from what the perspective I'm talking about right now, as a man, I can't trick you for what's yours, ladies. I'll say it again. As a man, I cannot trick you for what's yours. All I can do is persuade you to give me what you have. And again, that's going to be a choice you make because I made the choice that I wanted to pursue you. In doing so, I am working towards a fair exchange, so to speak. A fair exchange is not a robbery because if we both enjoy the moment and one of us decides that, well, okay, we're good, but I don't want to do it anymore, who becomes the bad guy? Well, I'm not going to say anyone is a bad guy. I'm just simply going to say that we both made a choice. Grown-ups do that. We make choices and we live with consequences. So another aspect that I'm going to put in here, is that for women, you guys know who you're looking for before you get out of bed in the morning. Now, I've said this on numerous occasions. I've said this on multiple platforms, but I want to make sure at least every couple of shows I leave this information out here just in case no one is paying attention to it. A woman knows who she's looking for before she gets out of bed in the morning. And this was a woman who told me this, by the way. So again, going further into it, if you get her time, you're either the guy she's looking for or an acceptable alternative until what she wants comes along. And even then, you may not be that guy. So it's always going to be, rolling the dice. You got to have some skin in the game. And that's what people who are accustomed, or let me take that back, people who want to win without any effort are going to look for. They're going to look for a sure thing. And the thing is that it isn't. As a guy, I know right off the bat that when I'm talking to this girl, there's a strong possibility that somebody I know may be talking to her also. I may not know who this guy is, or worst case, I might know this guy. No, we've shot basketball with each other. We've gone out and we've drank with each other, broke bread with this dude. And he and I happen to show up at a party and she's there and she's talking to both of us like, hey, we're buddies, we're pals, we're cool. And I'm not knowing that I'm getting it, but somebody else may be getting it also. And it is a devastating thing to figure out, oh man, she was running both of us, but then be the guy who, well, she was just over at my spot yesterday. She was supposed to meet me. Matter of fact, she was supposed to meet me the other day. Oh yeah, she was at my spot also. Oh, and you start finding out who she prefers more. So all I can say, fellas, if you're hearing this, you want to make sure you're that guy that she chooses more often, all right? You want to be that dude who gets her Monday and her Friday and possibly her Wednesday. So another assessment here that goes along with this, since we're talking about the ladies here, is that a woman who has options has less worries in a few situations. Let's put it this way. Certain women will never be cold, broke, or lonely unless they choose to be. That's just a fact. Now, I'll also add in here as a caveat, all right, here's a disclaimer. Sometimes that plain girl has that option also. And how is that possible? Again, I'll say it one more time. Certain women will not be cold, broke, or lonely unless they choose to. Now you're asking, how does that plain Jane and girl get included in this? Because of the fact, for some guys, we have no standards. So that girl may get through because of the fact of something that she's willing to do that some other girls aren't going to do. She doesn't have to be cute, no. But flip the coin around, or a girl, oh no. Some old plain dude, just some bum type of brother, he's not going to get in there. No, he has to be at least cute. That's how she looks at it. So again, there will still be some type of standard that she holds, but as far as guys, nah. When I was younger, I can think of a few times where I said, hey, I'll let this standard lapse, but you got to be gone, or I need to be gone before the light comes up and somebody sees me leaving or sees her leaving my spot. So keep it in mind, right? Say it one last time. Certain women will not be cold, broke, and lonely unless they choose to be. But majority of women will be cold, broke, and lonely based on how they choose to behave. Now, these are going to be the girls who are not going to have those options that the others have. And when I say the others, I'm talking about some of these panels where you have girls talking about, again, oh, I'm an 8. Oh, I'm an 8. Oh, I'm a 9. I'm a 10. So you have 10 girls sitting around a table, and 7 of those girls will be a 7, or let's say an 8 or above. And maybe one of those girls might actually give herself a rating that is accurate. Oh, I think I'm a 6. Okay, good. That's good awareness. It's always the most delusional female in that room who knows that her weight is in a certain way, she knows her is in a certain way, but she still says, I'm a 10 because I feel like it and because of my energy. Now, I'm not knocking anyone right now. I'm just merely giving a description, because we'll back up for a second. Remember, I said the mirror does not care about your hopes, your dreams, or your aspirations. Excuse me. So therefore, you will have certain people, men and women, who will stand in front of the mirror and assess themselves higher than they actually should, because there's been nobody to tell them different. So therefore, at some point in time, age and consequences does come into the picture. If I've spent my entire youth talking about, oh yeah, I'm a 10, I'm a 10, but yet I am not truly that, eventually the reality and the consequences are going to reflect how I've seen myself. So it's best to understand how to go about these things here, how to recognize what's going on with folks who don't understand how an assessment actually works. Marcus, what's good, man? Hey, thanks for stopping in. I had Superficial Deep Roots who showed up a little while ago, but I'm not sure where she's gotten off to. But nonetheless, man, I appreciate you showing up if you can. Otherwise, it's always the replay. So, what's been going on, Marks? Where you coming from? Go ahead and drop me a note down here in the chat and let me know what you're getting up to. So, I think we were talking about the five senses, right? I know we kind of drifted a little bit, but I wanted to make sure I covered enough in here. So let's go back to the five-step sensory dating process. We've covered sight, we've covered sound, we've covered taste. All right. So the fourth stage is going to be touch. And when we get to touch, that means that the first three areas have already been covered significantly. Sight, sound, taste, touch. Oh, I mean, when you get to that part, you're pretty much doing the whole thing here, right? Yeah, hold on for a second, folks. Be about 30 seconds. Be right back. All right. Ooh, excuse me. All right, so we're back here. So let me back things up a little bit here. So I think I may have got things out of order here. Again, sight, sound, smell. Excuse me, I think I left that out. I'm sorry about that. So again, sight, sound, and smell. That is the third thing. You need to make sure that you don't smell like a whole outhouse, all right? You need to make sure that when you are standing next to someone, when they breathe in, it needs to be something pleasant. Me, myself, I like a lot of oils from the Middle East, Dubai, per se. They've got a lot of good fragrances that I find in some of the local shops that cater to that. So if I can find those, definitely that's what I do. And it goes the same thing for ladies as well. You guys are really tight about what you put on, and I appreciate you when you put on that. I don't know, it's maybe like lavender. I can't think of the name of this perfume here, but I know it's again, it's just a lavender-like smell, almost like sweet lavender milk. And it's killing me right now that I can't think of it, but nonetheless, there's nothing like being next to a woman who's got your eyes pulled. She's talking the right things. She's got a certain smell that's invigorating. And then, of course, we already talked about taste. I accidentally jumped straight to that, but again, taste is going to be you take her out. And maybe if you're lucky, guys, she might take you out. But the last thing that you get to is touch. And that's when you actually start the kissing, the holding hands, the more or less the interpersonal things. You know, the walks, certain places where people are not now starting to see you as a couple, or you making it known that you are a couple. Now, again, for someone who's running that pickup artist game, you're not really going to know, ladies, if this guy is really into you, but you're still going to have to guard what you say, watch what you do, and not to the point to where you're being paranoid. Just make sure he doesn't have to know everything about you. You don't have to tell him everything. Guys, same thing. She doesn't have to know your entire history. But the idea here is that if you're both working on, as I said before, that mutual aspect, whereas both of you can provide something to the conversation that makes it reciprocal, then everybody walks away happy. He's not trying to dominate. She's not allowing herself to be dominated, or vice versa. She's not always talking about her accomplishments, my car, my work, my job, education. You know, it's not going to be too one-sided. It's equal input. So again, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. Those are the basic things you need to work on, the five senses. That's where you operate from before anything else happens. You make sure you take care of those five things. You ensure a better level of success as you move along. All right, so we're about at that hour mark here, but before we do that, let me give this last bit of information here. I saved this last because it kind of falls into what we're talking about here. So I will say right now, there's no shame at working to be last. I'll say it again. There's no shame at working to be last. Excuse me. So when I say last, what am I talking about? I'm talking about leadership, appreciation, submission, hear me out, and also trust. So I'm going to go at this kind of out of order because leadership, submission, and trust all kind of run together. So let's start with the A and last, appreciation. You've literally just got to be appreciative of what you have here, because if someone is taking the time to be with you, to be around you, that means that there is an interest. There is something that they are investing in you that they want back. Remember, puff, puff, give. And when I say this puff, puff, give, let's go back and look at it from a standpoint of when you first meet, what are you both looking for? So what does she bring that he's going to be interested in? So she's going to be friendly, fit, feminine, fertile, depending on if you're looking for kids. What we're talking about also cooperation. She's going to be agreeable, nurturing. She has discernment. She shows discretion, but above all else, she brings peace. Now, these things will sound the exact same in different ideologies, so don't think that I'm pulling from this distorted red pill that's been out here for ages. No, I'm not, because there's certain concepts that are going to cross and play in different arenas that people still agree on. It just depends upon how that ideology is put forth. All right, so that's what a guy may be looking for from a girl. But what is a girl going to be looking for from a guy? So from the standpoint of men, we need to bring focus, guidance, direction, discipline, security, stability, masculinity, knowledge, fitness, care, protection. This is what we should be offering as an equal exchange here. Remember, I said before, fair exchange is not a robbery. These are the aspects that as a man, I should be ready to give back to a woman who's going to be giving me those soft skills or those intangibles. But let's look at this from a standpoint now, that we take the best of what they both have to offer. So from a man looking at a woman, I value peace. So I'm definitely going to be looking for her to bring that. And from a woman's standpoint, she's going to be looking at him. She's going to be looking for care and protection. So if my care and protection matches the peace that she brings, then when the three of these get together, we're going to have mutuality. That's what we should be shooting for. We want to have some type of mutual bridge or allocation between each other, which means that now we have the potential to form any and everything else that makes a solid foundation for a relationship. You're not going to get that with a pickup artist. Once again, the pickup artist is not trying to build anything long-term unless it's a long-term roster. As I said before, the pickup artist, you're not going to hear care, consideration, concern, communication, compromise, balance. These are things that are not in a pickup artist's vocabulary. It doesn't work that way with him. I'm here to pick up, get in, and get gone. But if you are someone who is susceptible to that, or you don't mind existing in situationships and entanglements, have at it. Like I said, pickup artists, this is not the show for you. Make your way out. Plenty of other places you can go with that. All right, so again, we're going back to, as I said before, appreciation. Appreciation, what is there in front of you, what this person is willing to do for you and do with you. Respect that. Leadership. I hear too many guys always talking about leadership. Oh, as a leader, when I get there, I just need to start changing things. I need to make sure that you get on my page. I need to shut up with this old bullshit about leadership. Even worse, listening to a woman who has seen leadership as being that guy who comes in kicking stuff around, or let's say if she hasn't seen a man in her environment. So leadership will then be what she's seen from the matriarch in the area where she comes from. So now you're going to have a conflicting values of leadership because she knows what that strong woman has told her. Don't let a man tell you this. Don't let him do that. Get your education, get your money, get everything all right. Get your own bag. Don't depend on him. So therefore, if he has his idea of leadership that he wants to express, and she's got her idea of leadership that she's seen that she feels that she needs to lead in some way, you've got conflict. So these are non-complementary styles. I've said that in other shows here where you've got to make sure that whatever you bring to the relationship, it's got to complement the other person. I'll say it again. Value has no worth unless it's agreed upon because you get what you qualify for. He likes to cook, she likes to eat. Hey, that's a good relationship. She likes to give directions. He doesn't mind being given directions. Hey, that's complementary style. He likes to be in charge. She likes to be in charge. Bam, bam, bam. You got head on conflict unless one or both of them can decide whose knowledge of the situation works better in that situation. Otherwise, they have some EPMD, the head banger, constantly, right? So again, leadership and submission. There's one thing that both of those have in common. And I don't think anyone ever gives that any consideration. The thing that leadership and submission have in common is that the person who is going to be in a position to whereas they follow behind that leader, they have to be influenced. They have to believe there's going to be a common goal that they both get from that. And that starts with influence. So in the same sense that a leader has to be influential amongst the people that he's looking to follow his concept, when you're talking to a woman and looking for her submission, fellas, you have got to influence her and give her a feeling that what you are doing is something that is going to be for her benefit as well. So what do I mean by that? So I had this conversation about a week or so ago on a different panel, and we got into the conversation of submission. Now, as we always know, when you mention submission, things start going haywire because women or certain women presume that submission means to be subservient, and that is not what it means. Submission is agreeing to something, literally agreeing to a suggestion or the will of another person. It doesn't mean that you have no say so or that you are now somebody's slave. Oh, well, marriage is slavery. No, marriage is not slavery. Let's not even do that either, okay? Ladies, your submission has a price. That is yours. You own that. As a man, I can't expect submission from you by just saying, bow, yield. No. You have to see something in a man that causes you to believe that he is worthy of your submission. So let's think of your submission as being trust. You have to trust that man. You have to see actions from him that garners that trust. But let me tell you something right now that a lot of women and men don't think about, all right? A lot of people do not consider that in a relationship, men submit first. Real talk. Men submit first. Now, again, going back to this word submission, I've seen these, forgive my language, these super niggas out here like, no, dog, I ain't submitting to nobody. That's not how it works. She submits to me. She gets on my program. Women are adults just like men are. And we both are capable of being childish at some certain point in times. We won't give up ground. I ain't doing it. We do see that. But the thing here is that, yes, men submit first in a relationship. How so? Let's go back to that concept. Men chase, but women choose. However, if you are her type, she can be persuaded. So therefore, as a man, if I decide, oh, damn, I'm like when I'm looking at, hey, what's going on, girl? My name is so-and-so, and I just happen to see you going by, and I want to make sure that I spoke with you now, and I'm not kicking myself later for not doing so. Reason being, I'm too old to be bashful. So if you like the conversation that we're going with, how about we find some way to extend it? And then hopefully the conversation goes from there. Now, in doing so, with this conversation, let's say if we do this enough times where we've gone out for a few dates and we've actually been able to have a conversation that works to both of our favors here, I simply say, hey, girl, look, I'm liking what's going on here. Can we make this a permanent thing? Looking for a man because I'm the man for the job right now. And she says this one thing. Yes. You can holler at me, but you can't talk to anybody else. It just needs to be me and only me. And if he says yes, that is him showing submission. He has agreed to a suggestion. He has agreed to a condition. That is an act of submission that that man is showing right then and there. So as I said right then and there and now, as Luther Vandross would say, here and now, that man has shown submission to you, gal. So he's already in. So why is it 5, 7, 10 months, a year down the road, when he's asking for your submission, there's a problem? Oh, no, I ain't gonna do that. No, I don't want to lose my individuality. If you didn't want to lose your individuality, why the hell are you in a relationship? So let's switch it around. Now, he has invested time in you, but the problem that you're having, if this man has asked you for your hand in marriage, is really don't want to give up my individuality. I like who I am, and by taking this step, that means that I have to change. Of course it does. That's the whole purpose of when two people get together. You're no longer who you were. He's no longer who he was. You guys are an item. It's the two of you. So you picked the wrong time to worry about maintaining your individuality and your independence. And this is not the place for that. So let's put that off to the side. Let's just imagine right now we're talking about progress getting made here. So again, he's already shown submission 2, 3 years prior, 5 months or whatever. He's already done the damn thing. He's made it clear. I'm not chasing and seeing anybody else but you. So when it comes to her turn to show submission, it's going to come down to, again, trust. That trust being developed. Finishing last, again, is not a bad thing. Leadership, appreciation, submission we've talked about, and now we're talking trust, which means that she needs to see in that guy the husband that she wants, which means that she has to be able to trust what he says. And if she's been with this guy for 5 months, 7 months, 10 months, a year, 2 years, she should have seen his actions equating to what he was saying. If she can see that he's been stand on business, 10 toes down for everything that he said to her, there should not be an issue of her providing or giving him her submission, meaning her trust. She should have no problem trusting him because, again, her submission comes with a price. And that price in this instance is being able to see the trust in this guy that she wants to be her husband, the same way of him looking and seeing in the woman that he wants to be his wife. So if we close the gap right about there, we can see that there's nothing wrong finishing last if we have that conversation of leadership, appreciation, submission, and trust. If we finish in that order, we should be all right. There should not be any questions. The end goal is mutuality. And if mutuality can be had on what we just discussed in the last 5 or 10 minutes, then we're doing okay here. We not agree on that? All right, folks. So I think we've done as much as we're going to do right now. So Superficial Deep Roots, I don't know if you're still here or not, or even watching, but if not, thank you for stopping by. Same thing with Marcus. As always, I appreciate you coming through and shouting at the OG. Thanks to anybody else lurking out in the clouds. I always appreciate the time. And to my replay gang, here it is. As I said before, make sure you let me know if you have any questions about what you want to do as far as future shows. Give me some ideas. If something's on your mind, let me know. We'll have a discussion about it. And just to run this around the room one more time, again, we're going to look at doing call-ins in the upcoming shows here. Once I get everything straight, we're going to do that. Also, one more shout out to Tomorrow's Image. Devin, be by tomorrow to get myself shaved up. And last but not least, Black Eyed Peas, located behind Linwood Mall in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Good food, but also good entertainment, because again, we're going to look at doing a value conversation, Jeanette spoken word live, if possible, should the interest be there. All right, so let's shoot for that. So I guess everybody knows what time it is right about now. Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what's going on over here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do. Subscribe. This is what you're looking for. As always, I appreciate anyone who's able to join me for the conversation, replay game. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Catch everybody next time. John Henry out.